have those big heroic plays, right? But we will be moving on to Ilios as our first map of the series. Once again, on the blue hand side, we will have Snakes matched up against Singularity in red.
And Nesh here on the fair. We already saw the first pick as the 303 will suffer a loss. No mercy at their disposal, so they are completely down. That member, Brigitte, won't be able to find that answer. And once again, you see them going right for them. And Nesh will look to try to do his best impression of the fair we saw in the last series with trying to get this barrage up quickly, trying to answer the call. 303 needs to find an answer as asking yet again, taking someone out, and Fall is in a dangerous position. Nesh will close that one out. They lost control of the point, but they'll take it back shortly, I do believe.
And they should, because even Lin now going down. No supports available, no staying power here for Singularity. Only their tanks left alive, but not for long, as we will have, in the end, Neshin asking dish out the damage. Onto the rest of his team asking. Still a standout player on that Widowmaker, popping head after head. We'll still have that emphasized timeout shortly. Now Nesh will have at the ready the barrage, and this is finally going to be a different type of Singularity. Obling once more on that Widowmaker.
And we saw this from them as well before, where Obling is just going to make that swap over to off of the Zarya and over to the Widowmaker to try to contest. We saw this on Ruins. He's going to bring it back though, and already asking takes him out with the Venom Mine of all things, as Snake is looking to close this fight out once again. They don't have the Zarya to help them sustain, and Nerfed has just been battling to try to do anything for his team. Now we will likely see a couple of adjustments being made to the composition as Mono swaps, Fall swaps, Lin swaps as well. Nerfed holding onto that Earth Shatter. He's going to have a big one for sure to be able to get them back up into this game and start catching up to the score that Snakes has already accrued for themselves.
The big problem, while yes, he do have Obling set up with the rest of his team to make sure he contests asking or even Pharah or Nesh, will not be too successful so far, and as we'll have them still pushing through. Fall will be going out as Kodak to find him asking once more, winning this fight out, and with 70% soon enough available for Snakes, they're looking poised to take this first round win on Ilios.
Such a tough matchup. Every time you try to find something, try to find a way in, just clawing for anything, asking shuts it down completely with one, maybe even two picks at a time. You can see him sneaking his way around. Obling already down to 9 HP, asking to get to the better than the deal once more as Obling will go down. The second kill as asking finishes him off for a second time with a Venom Mine again.
That's not something you see every day, especially in one single round. Yeah, that. We'll have the Resurrect go through, but remember, disadvantage here for Singularity as they will look to get a point in their favor. However, might they be able to be successful with it, considering the fact that Aiko does have to reach the barrages there. Nesh gets the kill, asking, finds another yet again. Obling out, and now, even though they do have Lind with the Transcendence, it will time out. Members will be falling here for Singularity, and it seems like we might just have Snakes turn this one still overall in their favor.
However, kills still coming out for Snakes, and as Nerf comes back, he's going to be reduced so low they fall off the point, with Molf actually going out of his mech, and he couldn't control his character as he's getting ejected from his suit. So that will be a quick take, actually, and dealing with the 303 in the process.
And man, you don't look for asking, he looks for you, because Obling has been taken out so many times, unable to find any of those targets, and interestingly enough, asking with those Venom Mine positions, it's been on the point. I don't think we've seen this many Venom Mine kills in a series, yet alone in a round.
Absolutely. I mean, you often just don't see any at all. Occasionally you'll see, you know, one or something like that, but to have two in a round, that's absolutely insane. Just his ability to finish off a kill, Obling, has just been completely holistically dealt with. And once again, we will see that same composition, that 2-1-3 style that they brought out the first time on Ruins, and it worked out for them to start off the fight, but now they're going to be going up against the double sniper once more from asking and Nesh, this time asking actually on the Hanzo instead of the Widowmaker.
And with Kodak falling now to Molfik, the mighty Singularity get a hold of this point as Obling does come alive. And Nesh will be taken out this time around. In the return, though, it will fall to Asking's arrows for now. However, it's not really going to matter because they still get that first point cap. They dive right in, and without that Hanzo in the picture, and while he does have the Dragon Strike at the ready, it's still going to be Singularity with the advantage.
And we'll see Singularity come back in with Obling getting set back up. Asking already has his Dragon Strike. Already. I mean, already holding on to that. That's crazy pacing. He has been having such a good game so far already. They're up 1-0, but now they have to retake against a very robust composition as they surge around the side. Dragon Strike coming out. Ooh. I believe denied actually by the defense matrix. Not actually the case as Lin does go down to it. It goes right through. Asking going to be able to provide that opening pick for them to try to... Oh, he gets another 2. Obling not expecting that arrow to come through that tiny little crack.
We'll have those 2 kills in favor of the blue hand side here for Snakes. Now the self-destruct was popped. Will grant a resume, but it is going to be Asking. And Nesh, these DPS for Snakes once more winning out the fight, but they need to close this one out because it's already at 54% for Singularity.
Obling has been denied this entire game, I would say. Asking has been the answer to Obling throughout the set. Now looking to re-engage. Obling is back up, has his Infrasight coming up pretty soon, and he's going to try to get into a position where he might be able to find an off angle and catch Asking off guard, but that's not going to be the case, at least not yet, as Nesh does have the Infrasight up for his team, and answered now by Obling, as they're just going to wait each other's out, I do believe.
But look at that, already he finds fall, and the Dragon Strike could come through for Asking. However, Nesh under pressure, now Coalescence even committed. Kodak will go down, a big target at that, considering the fact that he was able to pop that Transcendence in the fight if he were to last off. But it's going to be the Dragon Strike out of Asking as he drops down. Doesn't manage to find any targets, however, in the meantime, Mono does go out. Nesh finds another, and without those support members here for Singularity, it seems like this is going to be Snakes with another team fight win.
Holding on once more, however, this time Rally and Sound Barrier ready for the next push, but I just don't know if they have the ability to get through a Transcendence, get through the pressure being dealt by Asking and Nesh throughout this setup. I mean, it's been so difficult, and diving on top of them once again, they're going to go ahead and reposition their tanks. Asking found, yeah, I mean, Fall has been taken out at the beginning of almost all of these fights lately, it seems.
And with an ultimate available, add that to Obling now will be going out as well. And with these later kills, 74% on the board for Snakes, we'll look to potentially see only one more fight here in this round. And as they are up 1-0, Snakes will look to close Ilios out. On the other side, Nerf on this Reinhardt just wasn't able to be as effective as would have expected out of him. Now we'll be looking to charge forward. They need to make it happen.
Nesh going forward, has a decent angle as Obling is under duress. Nesh finishes the kill off with the Winston supporting. Asking very low up here, but going to be safe for now. They can't reach him any longer unless they utilize some of these cooldowns to do just that. Christopher on the point, knocking about this Brawl composition that wants to stay together. They just won't be allowed to do that.
We'll have Kodak secure another kill onto Fall, as he said, shut down throughout the map, and now Molfik gets a decent with that self-destruct, but they need to turn this one around with the Coalescence pushing forward. Motto and they're finding those kills. Will look to get the point swap back in their favor. Christopher dropping really, really low. Kodak finds another kill, but he will be forced to disengage.
And once again, a retake, a close one though, as we will see Obling on the Tracer actually taken out. Coding finds a way to get that kill. And that's a big pick for them to start the fight. I mean, Tracer being out isn't, the biggest of deals as far as, one person to be not in this fight, but he's going to swap over to the Widow. I don't know if they see this, though. I don't know if they're going to spot this out early on. Now they kind of know as Obling misses that first shot, lets them know that the Widow is in play.
We'll drop Kodak really, really low. Nesh as well. It's going to be Kodak getting out of the fight. The Dragon Strike will come through. Look to push them away. Nerf jumping pretty low, however. It will be saved up by Linden. Even though the Resurrect is there, things are still looking good for Singularity. Looking to get to this 1-1 equalizing win here on Ilios. However, Fall will fall. Asking getting that Storm Arrow kill. And now looking for more self-destruct was used. It's going to find 2 kills. Molfik potentially securing this one for Singularity.
Oh, he's hanging on though too, because he's gonna dive right into that backline, asking, trying to get away, and Christopher goes down to the Earth Shatter as he gets dropped. Oblin coming back on the Soldier, but he doesn't even need to, as the rest of his team has secured it. Molf, I think, really the big momentum shifter there with that massive self-destruct. Otherwise, that could have easily gone the way of Snakes.
And it's been crazy to see players like Asking come alive like that. Not only on the Widowmaker, but on that Hanzo. After that first team fight, I do believe he already had the Dragon Strike at the ready. As we said also, throughout that round, Obling did get shut down time and time again by Asking too, be it on that Hanzo as well. And now that we will be moving on to Well, some interesting composition choices for both of these teams. Potentially we'll look to see Fall stick to that Sombra.
4, 3,
I don't know. I'm not sold.
Well, they're going to start it off with the Sombra instead of the typical Brigitte with this composition. But it's actually, you know, not just that. They're also not running a Zarya. Obling's on the Tracer himself. So they are running, you know, somewhat of a 2-2-2, depending on how you like to classify the Sombra in this composition. And as they approach, they're looking to already shut down Kodak. They do just that. He gets rezzed back up, but that's going to be a safe res as well. Coming around the side, Fall looking to try to flank around as he just works his way through stealthily, looking for Kodak once again. Should find him.
Especially since even Obling is looking for the kill as well. Both of these members here being so aggressive, but it's going to be Asking with a double kill from both of those supports. That staying power not going to be there for Singularity. And as they will fall one by one with the help of that Widowmaker coming out of Asking, yes, they do find Kodak, but that was pretty much most of it. And now Snakes looking to get that first point cap.
Asking, relentless on this character. I mean, give him a sniper and he will give you a win. Now they just need to get behind him and make sure, or rather get in front of the man, because they need to make sure that they give him the space so that he can find those kills, give him the time so that he can find those kills, get that shift so that your team can get control of the point after losing Kodak twice in that same fight. Pressure is certainly on that Zenyatta.
Well, the problem is Asking with that high ground positioning. No one really able to contest. Well, will be Nesh though, getting the double kill, finds a triple. Obling in the meantime does get the stick, but that is all they get. Late Coalesce coming out of Lin 2 will not really amount to anything. And once more, Snakes will be coming out on top of that fight, and with a lot of ultimates to work with. And I do believe it should come down to whether or not Fall finds those angles to secure a big EMP onto those targets, such as Kodak on that Zenyatta.
Well, as we see them go through this walkway, Asking's going to be able to find a lot of damage just to start the fight off. They're going to see him coming, actually, because the Infrasight should be up by then. If they could get off just a little bit more damage, Fall going to come around the side. EMP goes out, but I don't think it's the value that they were necessarily looking for.
They do get one, they secure a second. Mono did drop, but Nesh finds the kill onto Nerf, the big one at that, as without that Winston, those frontline members are not going to be there, whereas Christopher is still rampaging about with that Primal Rage. Asking finds another headshot, finally gets taken out though, and we might just see Singularity get the point cap that they definitely needed right now.
Oh, they're going to be able to isolate Christopher. The Winston will drop. Snakes going to try to hang on until that 99% mark. I don't think they're going to be able to turn this, though. Molf does go down. This is their chance here. Transcendence comes out from Kodak. They actually might have it. Barrage comes out. They're finding the kills. He gets hacked, so he can't go up. He will be grounded and taken out. Obling going to be taken down by Heiko, as well as the self-destruct claims a victim. And it's just down now to Fall and a couple of supports as they're waiting for the rest of their reinforcements to come through, and they need them now.
I think Heiko was this time around the MVP, as he did manage to eat up that pulse bomb coming out of Obling and then find a few kills in return too. Now looking with the Coalescence, they need to make it work. Fall rapidly approaching that EMP, but it's gonna be shut down. Asking, still finding the kills, and now Nesh coming in on that Brigitte will look to push Obling out of the picture, gets the kill as well. Overtime taking it through. Asking, getting kills after kills, and Snakes take the lead.
That is a very clean victory there as they take it 100-0. Asking, popping off throughout that series. Nesh had a couple of great moments. We already mentioned how, you know, it's going to come down to those DPS, making sure that they're being lethal, and they are as lethal as ever, able to do so much with what they're given by the rest of their team, you know, the supports and tanks, making sure that they're creating that space that's necessary for Asking to do what we actually just witnessed. And what that was finding headshot after headshot, just going from high ground to high ground, you know, and being a gigantic nuisance to the enemy.
Most definitely, because outside of Molfig, who really on the roster of Singularity could contest him realistically? Because the Tracer's not going to get to him.
Right.
The Sombra could potentially with the Translocator, but he would be in such a tough position that it's not just realistic choice, right? So overall, Asking, having the space he needed, secured the team fight a win overall in the end. But of course, the rest of his team, as you said, Nesh, also coming alive on multiple heroes, even Heiko there at the end, being a deciding factor potentially on that Diva. But as we will see Snakes take the lead, coming up next, it will be that hybrid map. Snakes looking as strong as ever, even with Kodak in the lineup, of course, who had some good performances on that Zenyatta as well. But we did see a few different approaches out of Singularity too. We did have not only the free O-free comp coming out of him, and now that we will be over on Eichenwald, this is a map where we could have them get that advantage back in their favor.
Still going to have a tough time dealing, I think, with Asking and Nesh, and this is where things get a little, trivial, I think, because when you look at this map, yes, 303 very solid. Yes, we know that this team is very good at this one. I mean, this is the exact same map pool that they had in their matchup versus Bird Boys, where they went up against a 303 and came out on top. But dealing with something different, this is something that they might, not be as comfortable with. Yes, they obviously came out on top with a 303, but do they know how to deal with what is, possibly considered a pseudo counter, I guess, because it's not. I don't think it's the full scope, everything that needs to be done to deal with a 303 brawl style composition that they do bring out oftentimes. But there are certain elements to the composition that we see being run by Snakes that I think does work against it. And it seems like realistically, Singularity, is kind of struggling against it. They're trying to figure out how to deal with Asking. They're trying to figure out how to deal with Nesh, and so far they can't do it. And in the meantime, Christopher and Heiko have been relatively safe as compared to a lot of other tanks for other teams that run this style. They've been caught off guard, they've been isolated, they've been taken down, and then they lose momentum because they don't have any tanks to create that space anymore. Christopher, Heiko haven't really had that problem.
And I think that's a great point because one of the key players for Singularity last time around when they did get their win was players like Nerfed on that Reinhardt, getting those big Earth Shatters. Of course, yeah, he did get set up sometimes by players like Fall, but in the end, was still those big plays coming out of him last time around that really gave him the edge in those matches. And now, as we will move on to Singularity's attack, they will once again go back to that 3-0-3.
So here we see Nesh on the Pharah now. And he, at the moment, is up in the sky. They deal out the damage. They find a tank, or a support already. Make it 2 as Fall goes down as well. And this is clean. Snakes will find these kills. Everybody else jumping off, trying to disengage as Nerf guys off late as well. But very quick. Snakes seem to have, kind of figured some things out here.
Most definitely looking as clean as it can get pretty much here for Snakes. As it will have Asking 53% towards that Dragon Strike already. Nothing really gained on the other end. Singularity, as he said, struggling to deal with these compositions and these DPS players primarily coming out of Snakes right now. We'll look to see them approach differently on top of that objective. Potentially force the opposition away from that high ground eventually, as it will get spotted out by the Sonic Arrow.
This is what we also talked about, seeing Winston and Orisa a lot more than a Reinhardt for Snakes, and that's exactly what we've gotten. They're going to surge around, try to find a way onto the point. A little bit safer route. There's a Dragon Strike coming out, going to find a little bit of damage. Not a kill yet, though. They do demech Molf, but need to find a little bit more damage to do that, actually, and they don't. They finally get it. And now we see Lin in a potentially bad spot as he dies off as well. And it's Snakes still battling this one out. They're still in it, not out just yet. Mono falls, Barrage safe as Nesh claims a couple of victims alongside Kodak, who has been so lethal. And this is that new player, or rather returning player for Snakes, coming back into the roster on the flex support to replace Awkward, who we saw, just prior in their last match a few days ago. And he's done well, I think, so far here on Eichenwald.
Kodak channeling his inner Jonak as Cave was damage boosting him up and making sure he does secure those kills and that defense in the end, as we did see Singularity get 2 ticks on the board up to 85.8%. So is that going to be enough for them, as now it will look to re-engage? They do have the Graviton.
Graviton ready, as you said, and looking for a lot of grouping to happen here so that they can throw that down and find some value in it. They actually get them all inside of it. Self-destruct coming out, and they're looking to claim some kills. Don't get the ones that they want, as it's Heiko throwing that out. And now we see Nesh having that barrage once again, but kills are on the board for Singularity. They're trying to close this one out. Forces Asking onto the point. He will be quickly dispatched. Singularity now moving this payload and going forward. This is that aggression that we saw from them in their last matchup with this composition.
And a little bit too early. Transcendence coming out of Kodak potentially there, but now Nesh finding a kill onto Fall again. This has been the member of Singularity that seems to get taken out of time and time again in all these early fights, and now Nerfed under a lot of pressure will follow as well. And even though they do have a member set up on top of the payload, now that we will have Snakes come out on top of this team fight, they'll look to push them back towards that archway.
Well, now they got them caught too, and there's not a lot of ways for Singularity to come out. I mean, there's really just a couple of options that they have to get into this fight. And when they do take one of them, almost all of them can be blocked off by Nesh with this barrage, with a quick, concussive blast that just changes position very quickly. And he's going to come back around. There's the barrage to come down. Nerf looking like he's going to fall too, but he's just low. Dragon Strike ready though, as Asking will close the deal. And he's going to hold on to this for now. They're trying to sustain this. Dragon Strike does come down just as Asking does. They send it right through the main entrance as Mono falls. And now it's just a couple of members left for Singularity as they're actually pushing the point.
They still have that staying power, and Obling was able to charge up another Graviton, so we will see him potentially be the big factor here. Look to spot the opposition out. Kodak just a few percentages away from his Transcendence. We'll see him find that kill onto Obliga without the Graviton. Maybe they can finally stave him off.
So much damage coming in from those angles from Nesh and Asking. As soon as they look up, Asking comes in on the side. As soon as they look to the side, Nesh comes in from the top, takes them all out. You saw 3 kills. Now we will see Singularity dropping off once again. And not the first time we've seen them do that this map. I mean, Nesh and Asking have been insane. Support as well being brought there. Lethality being brought by the Zenyatta. I mean, Christopher and Hayako, so elusive, making sure that they can always contest for their team, staying alive so they always have the ability to create space when necessary. I mean, holistically, this has been a really strong showing from Snakes.
And we'll see them once again look for those angles. We'll have the Dragon Strike actually claiming Molfig as he launched the self-destruct early. In the meantime, Dohaiko gets punished as well, so both Divas out of the picture right now. The Graviton was used, however, not too much success. Nash is going to find one, but it is a 1-for-1 trade. Nerfed out of the picture. Wolves still have that Earth Shatter available. Transcendence now being popped by Kodak, looking to stave him off. 1 minute, 10 seconds on the clock. Primal Rage, like him out of Christopher, just to make sure they get it in the end. Molfig coming back from spawn does manage to find that Zenyatta off of that Transcendence, being timed out. Kodak still left alive, Asking uncontested will find the damage.
Oh, another Dragon Strike separating them, pushing them off the point, finding the kill onto Mono as Molf trying to contest, Asking up top as well. Gonna get some healing from Lind. That's gonna force Lind away from him, so he can't get the healing that he needs. Nesh and Asking still alive here. They're just gonna wait for their tanks to come back into this one. Oh, Obling over the top as Nerfed and Fall both take their fall as well. And now it seems like Snakes might have just bought themselves enough time to make another solid defense. And I want to go back to that Dragon Strike, the one prior to the last, with Asking finding that kill. I believe, I could be mistaken, but I believe he actually got a headshot with the projectile before it actually became a dragon to find the kill onto Molf, who threw his self-destruct up in the air. It was in a baby form.
That was already so many impressive stuff coming out of Asking. Nesh did make the swap over to the Tracer, though. Will look to contest Obling, who did have a little bit more success on that Widowmaker this time around. Christopher going out early, though, is not what you're looking for. If you're Snakes, overtime does come first. Self-destruct was popped. Dragon Strike to follow. Can they get the kills? They will! 2 coming out of Hayako to return self-destruct. Not as successful, and now Mono still dancing around that payload. Will buy his team enough time. Coalescence coming out of Lind will keep him alive at that as well. Molfig finally gets Asking as Obling still getting those sidelines. He is uncontested. Kodak with the Transcendence will be there. Soundbear available for Imana, though, as we will see this long-winded fight look to potentially turn things around, but Asking and Nesh getting the kills. However, as said, Obling on that Widowmaker is still left to his own devices. Will dish out the damage and potentially get the second objective for his team.
Well, they're contesting. Nesh is somehow still alive, has his recall as well. Oh! Does go down, I think, before he could get it off, and overtime still ticking, as we will see Hayako die off here as well, just taking some extra time away, but there's none to take away at this point. 1.5 minutes left for this 3-0-3 comp that has struggled as they swap now, of course, over to the 2-2-2 that they've been on for a while now, just to be able to get this second point in their favor. And a lot of options for Snakes here as we see them swapping a couple things back. Running back over to the 3-0-3, and Nerfed is sticking to this this Winston pick.
We'll see him potentially swap out soon enough as the Dragon Strike already used. We'll have 60 seconds to go, though. And you gotta ask yourself if it's gonna be potentially too late, as so far on the other side, Christopher, and make this swap over to the Reinhardt himself. It's gonna be Lind, though, finding that first kill onto Kodak, and as the rest of his team moves on forward with the help of that Primal Rage too, gonna just bounce Christopher, feed him to the rest of Singularity, and now they might get that payload all the way for the third point.
We'll also see Snakes holding out in their spawn room, trying to get one last chance. They have one last chance here, dishing out a bunch of damage to Nerfed, who's very low, doesn't have that Primal Rage to reset. They already found the kill onto Lin, so they lost a lot of healing as well. Dragon Strike coming out, might actually catch them off guard, as he does claim the kill onto the Winston of Singularity. Self-destruct going up, a couple of guys very low. They need to solidify these kills, though, if they want to make the hold here and now.
We'll see Nash coming in with the Riptire, secure that damage, secure that kill onto Fall. Soundbearer was popped, though. We'll even have Lind come back in with the Sombra. It's overtime, and as the member advantage is in definite favor of Snakes, It might just be a matter of time. Lin goes out, so does Motto coming back in. We'll see Nerf instantly be deleted on that Winston, and even though Obling is in on the Tracer, will not manage to make it back on that objective. And we will have Snakes hold out right before the very end.
And I love the way that they're playing this too. Defensively, it just makes so much sense the way that Christopher and Heiko are playing. I mean, if we had a land here, there would be a round of applause for these boys for sure. Because I mean, these guys have been so hard to deal with for Singularity as they play that 3-0-3. You know, Christopher and Heiko diving in, making sure that they have the ability to rotate out as needed, making it easier for their supports to, you know, not only for Kodak to have the space to be able to dish out a ton of damage like we saw him do in the first point, but also to be able to, you know, be very safe in the back line, make sure that they don't have to really pull out a bunch of burst healing, you know, that's going to come from a Mercy or something like that. It's very difficult to kind of maintain that against a 3-0-3 comp. So it just makes everybody's lives that much easier. You also don't have your tanks going out unnecessarily so that you have the ability to take them on at any given time.
On top of all that, for Singularity as well, I do like the fact that we did see some swaps go through in the end. Obling, once he was on the Widowmaker, that really helped solidify that second point on the board for them in the end. Fall even going onto the Tracer was looking hot overall, and this is the big thing with this current meta. It seems like it's not just gonna be down to play a comp, run it through over and over again. It's gonna come down to these adaptations, to these consistent swaps time and time again to figure out your opponent and make sure you have the edge in every fight.
All right, starting things off here on the defense though, Singularity with a 3-0-3, holding out very close. This is pretty much the exact same thing that we saw them do the last time we saw them play on Eichenwald, defending, looking for that quick start, trying to take some time away from Snakes. We'll have to see, though, whether or not Snakes actually spots them out. And here we go, starting things off. A lot of them are gonna come around the side. So if any of them do get caught, it won't be very many. And they're getting into position. Oh, there it is. There's the engage. But Nesh, oh, he actually is opting to take the fight on. He could have just gone to the point. Actually, they could have just started capping.
And they do not commit for it. In the meantime, it's gonna be Heiko going out. So we'll see them at the very least look for a wraparound, get some damage into that backline to those supports. However, there's still going to be Kodak going out, and overall Singularity coming out on top. And surprised to not see them use that Sonic arrow towards that room, considering what Singularity did in the past. But now, as they will look to re-engage, it's still going to be tough because Singularity are just playing so well around that middle point.
Oh, Barrage ready, diving right down. Nash is going to be under fire a little bit. A lot of that pressure is going to be mitigated by the defense matrix, but he's very low still. Got off the damage that he needs to open things up. Mono down very, very low himself, but will get the healing from Fall, as well as the armor to follow. And Heiko diving back in, loses his mech already.
We'll have the Dragon Strike go through, pick up no kills, but now finally, Asking doesn't even need it. It's going to be the arrows to secure it instead. And now with Mana going down, Lind will be forced to disengage the rest of his team. Nesh coming back in will soon enough look to have another Rocket Barrage at the ready. Even Asking, he just used that Dragon Strike already at 82%.
And how do you get back into this fight? Mole getting his mech back. That's the opportunity that they need here as they go ahead and re-engage. Graviton ready for Obling. Mono taken down very low. He has the healing, though, from Land. There's the barrage to follow it up, though. He gets taken down. Ness will not find what he's looking for. Dragon Strike comes out. That won't get the job done either. And it seems as though Singularity have put the stop to Snakes.
And now gonna be under a lot more trouble because we have 2 minutes left on the clock. Most of your ultimates committed, of course, on the other side. So it was the case for Singularity too, but Nerfed once again can be that high impact player with that Reinhardt even Fall getting closer to another rally. We'll have only Heiko and Christopher get to go with those ults here for Snakes.
But this will give them the ability to stay in this fight a little bit longer. Again, create that space like they have been throughout. And they're getting very aggressive. Look at Singularity just diving in for the backline. Finally realize they need to come back around as Christopher comes back down himself. Dragon Strike once more from Asking, sectioning them off just a little bit. Not going to find a kill, and they need something quickly.
And they need to make it happen because Obling is going to be rapidly charging towards that second Graviton right now. 57%. We'll have Asking being brought back up, but with 1 minute and 12 seconds, kills still going in favor ever so slightly of Singularity. But as we say that, Obling, unfortunately for him, will be falling right before he gets that Graviton. Nerf still holding on to this Air Shatter. It's going to be Nash finding another kill, and finally, we might see Snakes open up the point.
Oh, fall back onto it. Air Shatter comes down. Nerf might have saved the day, but they need to find the kills. Barrage will take out Nerf, and it's Nash becoming the savior here for Snakes with those 2 kills and helping to secure the last one onto Lin with only 40 seconds left. They get the first cap, and now they have a long way to go.
And the good thing for them is the fact that they will be able to have built up both support ultimates for themselves, moving up to the second phase. And even if Obling does decide to pull the trigger and get that Graviton underway, the Transcendence will be an answer potentially for them. Now looking for that engage, looking to fight them right onto the payload. Make sure they waste as much time as possible off the clock. Dragon Strike, though, will split them apart ever so slightly. However, with no kills secured, Valkyrie will be committed as well, and it's still Singularity charging forward.
And with that Coalescence, sustaining for now, but with the Transcendence ready, with that Barrage ready, I think Snakes might be able to have the firepower to take them out once again. They're going to need to put this together, though, as the Defense Matrix won't be available, as Molfig does lose his smack. Coming back around, Barrage is at the ready. They need to get this kill right here, right now. It comes out, Barrage engaged, but Obling will take him out once more. They've been quick to react to that so far.
Been instantly able to do just so, but asking, he's gonna find 2 kills. However, just look at how much time already just gone the way of Singularity, as the Dragon Strike will be charged up once more. However, no kills just yet. Mono will go down. He was forced to be in that tough spot, and now we will see Snakes eventually get the kills they need in order to move this payload forward, but so much distance they need to cover.
That was the scarier section of the map, I think. You know, once you get into that, stage 3 as well, towards the point C, I think that's just as scary. But once we open the whole map up a little bit, Snakes will be able to be, a little bit safer here. And this is where their composition shines a little bit more. Now they can just kind of play that, disengage, re-engage type style, as long as they stay safe. And Taiko going to throw out his self-destruct just to push them back, fall very low here, and they're going to find these kills. Just look how separated they are. Look at all these angles being taken by Snakes here.
And now with the Dragon Strike, it's going to jump there really low. Actually gets booped right back in, as it will have to take that Dragon. And now Heiko and Asking is going to be the ones to frag out onto this payload. And with them getting kill after kill, we will have a bunch of ultimates still available, but Graviton for Obling too.
Yeah, I mean, Graviton and Nerf's Earthshatter are things to be a little wary of in this next fight, but if Nash can find a way to sneak his way up top and find a way to get that barrage in without being denied by Obling and Molf like he has been in the past, they might be able to find these kills quickly and continue this payload push that they've been having so far.
We'll see the rest of the team here for Singularity charge forward all the way around. A Primal Rage looked to displace them. The Air Shadow is going to sit Heiko down, but Ness might be coming in with the Rocket Barrage. Can he find anything? No! Is the answer. Once again shut down by his opponents, and now Kodak able to keep the rest of his team alive. We might see Singularity come out on top. Dragon Strike was used to, gets a kill. Rather, Malfa gets the kill onto Asking, and now Cave forced to disengage. 2 seconds left. We might see Singularity equalize this 1-1.
This is going to be so tough when you get into Route 66 as well. Anubis can be pretty difficult, especially on point B, where Singularity is likely to pull this out as well. And Snakes, a couple of times, it seems like they have kind of found a way to deal with it. But the problem is that even if they deal with it, it takes so much time that when they're attacking, they just can't be, consistent. They can't continue their pushes like they would want to, because this brawl comp can sustain through virtually everything. You have to be so on point with those barrages, and if you, throw them out and you don't get like an instantaneous pick, like the last 2 times we saw Nesh throw those out, or rather last 3 actually, you're going to be dealt with very easily, and then that barrage loses all of its value, and it's very difficult to, get those fights turned in your favor if you don't have something like that, or the Dragon Strike really pulling the kills out.
And to Singularity's credit, of course, as well, they have been one of the best teams, I do believe, right now in EU when it comes to playing that 3-0-3 composition in particular. And it's going to be really difficult for Snakes to still pull through in the end. It's going to come down to those small things, because as we've said, there's no real exact composition to deal with this one necessarily. It's more the approach you do or you go for instead. But we will be right back with our assault map. Don't go anywhere. Things are tied 1-1, and as we will see on Anubis, Snakes will look to most likely pull out that double sniper composition or those double DPSs, depending on whether or not they're attacking, of course, or defense, and at which point they're at. And of course, also, I'm curious to see who you're going to set up. Is going to be asking once again on that Widowmaker or Nesh, because both of them really have shown that they can be proficient on both of them.
It depends, I think, on what they want to go with their what they want to put Nesh on, because if they're going to be going with a double sniper, it's always going to be Nesh. That's what they do every single time. Nesh is going to be the one to play Widowmaker. Asking is going to be the one to play Hanzo. They don't often really switch that up. However, if they try to do something else where Nesh might be on a Pharah or something like that, that's when you'll see Asking have the opportunity to go into the Widow. I don't suspect that. I think perhaps double sniper, perhaps I don't expect a Genji. I don't think they've ever really, run that ever consistently. So probably a double sniper with a dive to start things off for themselves. Or not a dive, sorry, they're on defense. So they'll actually instead be going with an Orisa setup here themselves and hiding their snipers behind that, unless they want to go for an off angle, off to the other high ground. But at the moment, Nesh is currently behind that shield, taking advantage of that.
But look at that, it's going to be Singularity on that double sniper composition as well. And with the Bullfig on the Zarya should make things a little bit easier for some of his team members to make sure they stay alive with that projected barrier. So far, we did see Nesh go out first. However, the Resurrect Warriors there coming out of cave. Halt now looking to get any picks off. We'll have still overall Obling find some potential angles, but Nesh does find Lin.
That double sniper just wreaking havoc right now, and Kodak even getting a little bit of time for himself as well. Now as Snakes fends them off once, it's not the 303 that you would expect to see. It's instead the double sniper that has not really stacked up, I think, to Snakes just yet. Back when we saw this come out on Ilios, Snakes was really taking it to him, hammering away throughout every time they had the opportunity to match up in this way.
But Obling is matching up to Nesh somewhat well now. Both of them popping that infrared side. The Dragon Strike will come out of Asking, so looking to push them away. The hold was used there too. However, he does find Lin in the end. What a headshot. As it is a 6v5, knows the Resurrect is going to be available just yet. Now finally protected. Does mean that Mono does find the space necessary to make that one go through. But in the end, we'll have Kodak's Transcendence at the ready, whereas Lin is still 40% off.
Double sniper taking each other on. Nesh going up. Oh, looked for that angle, but didn't get it as he hit his head on the top there. Nerf pushing in now, taking some pressure. A lot of it actually, as Asking up top, has gone untouched, unnoticed at the moment. They're now looking to try to control this point. As Christopher did fall, they've lost their tanks.
That is going to be a definite problem because Nerf is still being kept alive. The Obling still going to be able to frag out, get those kills. Dragon Strike will come out of Asking, but not going to be most likely enough as he will jump down, gets taken out of Mulfig. And look at this for Singularity. They still have the Graviton, they still have Transcendence going out to that second point.
And unless Asking is making a swap here, which does not look like it's going to be happening, perhaps a mistake to be using that Dragon Strike at the end of the last fight. Definitely would have wanted it now, I think. And as they swap Nesh over to the Junkrat, they're going to try to really put the hammer down, force them back, make sure that they can't be as aggressive anymore. Just throwing out that insane amount of AoE pressure that this Junkrat can accomplish.
And now Graviton being committed will secure one kill. Dragon Strike come through, however, only Nesh being caught on the grab will not be too much acquired for Singularity, but in the meantime, they do get 2 ticks. They need to have somebody on the point.
Oh, Singularity.
Not like this.
I mean, just sneaking that one out, Snakes. A little drop in communication, perhaps, where they were unable to make sure that someone was contesting the point. Singularity, perhaps one step closer to taking the lead in this series, and Snakes just unable to deal with it. Bringing out, once again, that double sniper, and this time as they're attacking, we'll act like I didn't mention it before and mess that up, but the dive to go with the double sniper, because, they were on defense last time, and I forgot that they had won that, or did they win it? Either way, they were defending there. So Snakes, Singularity, 1-1 right now in the set. Singularity just barreled through. If you're just now joining this stream here, 4:50 on the clock now as Singularity just took point B very quickly. Snakes just unable to get onto the point. And we will be having the attack from Snakes come out with double sniper dive. And Singularity will be answering that. I mean, Nerfed is oftentimes on this Reinhardt, but I expect him to go, okay, so he is going to go over to the Orisa instead. And it'll be a very similar affair to what we saw, you know, come out defensively from Snakes as well. Singularity did figure things out quickly. Obling fired off a lot. And I think Nesh has to have a kind of similar approach if they're going to be able to match this time somehow.
And now we do see this approach coming out of Singularity where they won't set that Orisa up high with the use of something like a Mei. Instead, they will look to contest somewhat similarly to what Snakes were able to do on that first point. However, as you said, it's going to come down to those DPS duels, those snipers. How are they going to match up? Who's going to get those early few picks, early few wins? Because to Singularity's credit, on that second point, they managed to snowball it beautifully, and Nesh might be going over to the Tracer.
Oh, he is actually going to go over to the Tracer, and this might be able to help contest against the double sniper that Singularity has brought out. And if they can find some value with a pulse bomb as well later on, could open things up for them on point B, should they get there quickly.
We'll look to see Obling now. Going back towards high ground, off away from his team. Will not have the cover of that barrier for himself. Still looking for any shots as we don't at the very least have a Widowmaker on the side of Snakes to contest it, but it's not even gonna matter because asking is gonna force that res. We do see Nesh look to try and contest that res, but will be unable to do just so, and as a result forced to use his recall.
Oh, and not going to get the Sonic arrow that he wanted, but will push Obling out of his position on that high ground. So now everybody's stuck into this corner. Asking taking a little bit of pressure, but Singularity, they have to find some way out of here or they're going to get stuck long term. But I don't know if there's any way for Snakes to really get in there effectively. And now they're just kind of poking and prodding, getting in behind this barrier as often as they can.
Might just let Nesh farm up that pulse bomb, just go in afterwards. We'll go for the stick. It doesn't find anything, and as a result, they still get a kill at the very least. Asking, we'll find Lin in the background, and even though the Resurrection was there, it's not really gonna be any advantage in favor of Singularity. Snakes getting that first point cap relatively quickly with 6 minutes and 30 seconds. We'll look to see how they can snowball that to a potential second point take too.
Snakes jumping in. Kodak gonna have Transcendence pretty soon as we see the swap come out. 2-1-3. Dragon Strike comes through from Fall. Wolf almost losing his mech as Asking is taking on Fall, takes the win in that one, and he will go forward to try to take on Lind, who forced himself back. Oh, Mono kind of snuck the res there.
Manages to get it through. Pulse bomb once again being there by Nesh. However, let's get the D-suit. So we'll see members of Singularity falling one by one. In the end, it's going to be Asking with a double kill. Still looking for more. Finds that triple, finds the quad, and maybe we'll have an even better time now for Snakes.
5:45 perhaps, but they have a couple more kills to go as they have to deal with Obling and Fall, who came in on Doomfist and Tracer. There's the, nice Dragon Strike to come out. You can't really ask for better than that in this situation to close out that hallway and allow Nerf to get isolated into this corner. Lin trying to stay alive in here with him as well. They will secure it. 5:25 is their time. Just over, just over 30 seconds faster than Singularity. So another fantastic time set. And we'll see Singularity this time going in once more. We'll have to see if they go for a sniper setup once again. Obling did a phenomenal job on their first attack, but, you know, to expect consistency out of that kind of thing, to expect Obling to just pop off every single time on point A, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So we'll have to see what happens here. It looks like they are going to set up in that same way.
But on the other side here for Snakes, we'll look to see potentially Nesh stick to that Junkrat, and that's been a pick he did default back to when it came down to it on that second point. However, now I'm looking at asking, is he going to go for the Widowmaker in return, or is he going to stick to the Hanzo? Because even when it came down to it, it was magic to find those angles to contest the likes of Obling on that Widowmaker, even with the Hanzo.
And I think they're expecting a 3-0-3 here, actually. I think that's why they're going for this, and, you know, it might be, you know, the tank setup might be an indicator to them trying to take on multiple different ideas all at once, because obviously if they know it's going to be a 3-0-3, they wouldn't be on these 2 tanks. They would have Christopher instead on a Winston. But I don't think they're just betting on this outright. I think that they think it's likely. That's why they have their DPS here. They could deal with a dive. They could deal with the 3-0-3 as well. So this is just a solid all-around defense for them to go with so that they can have a good shot against anything that might come their way.
And already forcing out the Resurrect is going to be asking, getting that kill onto the opposing. Zenyatta again spamming those storm arrows away, and Mono will be dropping pretty low. Does get saved up by that projected barrier coming out of Molfig. However, Fall will fall shortly, and now with Heiko still in that front line, the rest of his team still charging up. We'll look to see Nesh rapidly get his Riptide.
Oblink setting up. Oh, he sees one come through. Oh, just barely misses that shot. Also, barely avoids a shot himself. Snakes has Kodak set up nicely here, up on the high ground. Still so much pressure as they try to get in there. Almost lost their barrier. They too wind up losing their Mercy as Wolf turns back around and gets taken out as well. Riptire at the ready. Nesh does fall. So let's see if they want to go for the res, and it looks like they will, and they get it very safely. They see Nerfed here as well. They could actually just go for Nerf at the moment and pull him out.
If they go through with those late kills, that is going to just delay things that much further here for their opponents, as he does get the kill in the end with that Riptire. Man, the Ryan bullying this map has been for real, but we'll see Obling now at the ready with that Infra side, look to spot the opposition away and potentially get any picks happen, because so far it's been all about Snakes.
They have the Infra sight ready. Oblin gonna throw that out. Dragon Strike comes out as well. It's right in Nerf's face, gets him down very low. Look how low he was. Nesh solidifies the kill for them. Mercy comes through, they're gonna get that res, so now they're back up into it, but Fall goes down in the meantime. So they're gonna try to engage this 5v6 against a Junkrat and a Hanzo through a choke point.
It's going to come down to whether or not they can really charge up those ultimates at this point, because Lynn is going to go down too. The rest of Singularity pushed back towards their spawn as Asking takes another kill onto Nervy. Do you see Heiko? Maybe a bit too aggressive. Will lose his mech and look to potentially reset, or at the very least stay alive. So he does want a fresh suit soon enough at 73%. We see how fast those baby divas can really charge him up. It's going to be the Obling though, finally coming alive.
Well, rest back up though, because the Mercy was left to her own devices and gets it done. Nash coming around with the Riptire. I think they do know where he's approaching from, so they all back up. He's so far got this thing in healthily and actually comes in on the back, does take them out anyways. Sneaks it through a res onto Obling to try to see if they can just solidify some picks while they're waiting for Lynn to come back up from respawn. Not accomplishing anything just yet. And now looking for their way in still. 1:45 on the clock. They had tons of time at the beginning, at about 4:50 if I'm not mistaken, but they're coming in this time with the Graviton Surge as an answer though. They have the Transcendence ready.
They will instantly go for the Dragon Strike, asking pick up a kill onto Fall, and as a result, no Dragon Surge combo available for Singularity. He does get rezzed up in the end, but is it too little too late, because on the other side, we'll see Molfig dropping extremely low. Still the rest of Snakes looking to charge forward. Heiko will lose his super his trouble, but asking once more finds another onto Widowmaker, however, without that frontline member in Heiko. The rest of Singularity will look to go through.
Oh, Mole taking a lot of damage, does go down. Now we see the Dragon Strike ready once again for Asking as he takes Mono out of the equation. Snakes have avoided the Dragon Strike and taken the kills that they need to once again win another fight. They have 5:25 on their clock, however, Singularity now winning down to 50 seconds, just under that now, as we see the Riptire coming online very shortly. Dragon Strike, as I mentioned, is back up for Asking. And now they swap entirely over to a brand new comp as we see them go for that kind of more classic dive.
And even Christopher, they're playing those mind games, does manage to avoid the Earth Shatter. Because of that ability, we'll have that Riptire actually being popped, but it's going to be Asking, finding a kill too as well. Fall shutout will be a 6v4 advantage in favor of the defensive side. The res might go through, but Mono maybe not quite in a position to do that. We'll try to stay alive. We'll even pop the Valkyrie. 10 seconds left. Singularity need to get onto the point.
Oh, Heiko will spot out the Diva as well. They'll just go back around, put some pressure onto Obling. I don't believe he has recall for another couple seconds, and Now it's Nesh dishing out the damage, taking Molfig, taking Nerf, and we do see them hanging on. Oh, a nice headshot from Asking, trying to deny that Resurrect, they get it. They just have to deal with the Tracer. Now Obling trying to turn this around, trying to have a heroic effort here. Will not have it happen, and in overtime, Snakes hold out on the first point completely and have 5 minutes, just over actually, to get 33%.
And now, is this where Snakes pull out that 3-0-3 composition? Because with those brawls, eventually would look to see a win here with so much time on the board. I could see it happen, but at the same time, this DPS duo has been on point for them. Having Asking on the likes of Hanzo once more could definitely be enough. Of course, with Nesh as well on that Widowmaker to set yourself up for a lead here in the series.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now at the way that they want to approach this. I mean, I'm expecting a dive once again. I'm expecting, you know, Christopher and Heiko to go over to the Winston and the Diva. I'm expecting the double sniper so that they can, you know, get some picks early on. They've been so good on those two sniper roles with their DPS players. Asking and Nesh really just so consistent with that that pressure. But at the moment, it seems like Christopher is on and Orisa. I wouldn't be surprised though to see him go over to the Winston at all. We have 15 seconds before this the spawn door does open, and Snakes goes for it. And if they take this 33% with over 5 minutes, it's quite likely they will go up 2-1 in the series. If not, we will go to a tiebreaker. And here we go, 3 seconds away. Christopher makes the swap, and here it is, double sniper for Snakes to start their attack.
Asking toying with the idea of potentially running that Genji. It's not going to be the case. He will still go on that Hanzo for now. As on the defensive side, pretty much similar approach overall, but they will still have that double sniper, whereas Nesh was the definite threat on that Junkrat in the past. Will be on that Tracer this time. I look to split their attention for now. Will be forced to use his recall though, and being under pressure, will not really be able to get those angles quite through.
Well, on this Tracer, he's going to try to get over to the point pretty soon as well, actually, so that he can force them down to it. But in the meantime, he kind of spots out a little Zenyatta, a little food for him, a little snack if he can sort that out. But he is heavily protected right now. So slowly we see Snakes approaching, taking their time, looking for the picks. Nesh does find Lin in the back. That Zenyatta has been taken down, but does get rezzed back up. So that's now out of the picture as Nesh now looking for another opportunity to make his way back in here, putting some pressure on to fall. Now we see Snakes jumping up.
Again, they secure the kills. Lin jumping extremely low. However, Christopher now in the world of Herd. So we'll see the Valkyrie being popped on the offensive side, and Asking does manage to find Obling. Remember, it's only 33% that they need. That one stick. The pulse bomb will go through. Does manage to find quite a bit of damage. The Dragon Strike is there. Kills favoring Snakes heavily as Heiko picks up 2 as well. And at this point, all the members Singularities are going to fall. Heiko gets another at the end, and we will see Snakes take the lead 2-1.
They're able to take that so convincingly too. Taking the lead now 2-1 in the series here, and I mean they barely just missed out on Eichenwald as well. They, I mean, lost so much time to the 3-0-3 brawl comp. However, they looked pretty solid. I mean, they have a very solid team fight win rate, especially, I mean, even against the 3-0-3. They win those fights quite often, especially in comparison to a lot of other teams, especially ones that have struggled. So it's, I'm liking the way that they're playing it. They just need to continue this forward. They need to make sure that they have those same ideas, those concepts in mind when they approach the next map, Route 66, to follow. And that could very well be one where Singularity is going to be pulling out that 3-0-3 again. And again, a lot of teams have struggled with it, and it might be an opportunity here for Snakes to really show us that they've figured things out.
And it is indeed going to be match point for them as well, but we will be moving on to a short commercial break. And at this point, it's Singularity asking the real questions. How can you really deal with this DPS lineup of the Snakes? Because on the one hand, yes, they've been clearly the standouts here for this roster, but even Christopher and Heiko on those frontline members, Kodak coming in, fighting plenty of damage on Zenyatta time and time again, is going to be tough to deal with.
And I think the word you used there that I really want to highlight is asking. Asking is the person, I think, making all the plays, or not all the plays, but a lot of these plays. You know, when he's been on the Hanzo, when he's been on the Widowmaker, always really being such a force to be reckoned with in a lot of these situations. And, you know, moving forward to Route 66, he, along with the rest of his team, are really going to have to figure out ways to start dealing with this 303 that is, I mean, again, it's going to come out. It's not likely, it's not probable, it is going to come out. We are definitely going to be seeing that from Singularity without a doubt. And I think that, you know, they have to think about that right off the bat as they look to defend first here on Route 66 and try to combat them in the same way that, you know, we know they can. So I'm definitely expecting at some point to see some Winston and Heiko back over to the Diva. But to start things off, that's not what we're going to be seeing. Instead, we are actually getting them on Orisa and Diva to start. And Christopher holding things out on the high ground. They'll be just taking this a little bit slower paced, I think. But similar, actually, to the way that Envision tried to combat this, where they just played a lot of Orisa themselves as well.
And we'll see, of course, on the attacking side. Unsurprisingly, as we've said for Singularity, the 303 composition, this is the type of map where it can really shine. However, that was a haul that caught also those members being clumped up. Christopher, the rest of his team looking to get any picks, as we will have Singularity go through with the hook. However, rather, the D-suit not being quite there means that Heiko will be brought back up online. Christopher securing that first blood. Nesh just goes down, but overall, it just might be Snakes coming out on top.
Really, I mean, such a good play there from Heiko to help save Kodak, who's been struggling to stay alive, but he gets up there just long enough so that Askin can do what he does best, finding some kills and almost taking a late one onto the Moira as he disengages away from Mulf. But still, I do really like the way that they approach this, and now we'll see the swap. Nesh coming back over onto Afera. It's no worry that he's only at 2% towards his ult charge, because we know just how quickly Afera can charge up against this particular composition.
Same approach pretty much coming out from the attacking side. Mana instantly punished up on the side. Not quite sure what his approach was, potentially not spotting out the fair just yet. Will be instantly shut down, and the rest of the team now under a lot of pressure. Singularity might fall once again as they're right underneath Big Earl still. But the Dragon Strike might be the fix to seal the deal. Splits them apart for now, but do manage to stay alive for a while longer. Nesh gets the kill and gets so close to that Rocket Barrage, just like we said.
And self-destruct ready. Now we see that Barrage at about 70% as they back them away. So yeah, they didn't get those kills, but they staved them off. And we will see Snakes setting up once again, already taking away half of the allotted time that Singularity came through with, or rather started with, and now here are the swaps. Obling going to be the first one to make an adjustment as he goes over the Widow. This is one of the first changes that Singularity often makes, especially when trying to deal with a Pharah, and obviously need to certainly deal with Nesh, or he's going to be continuing to have a great performance if you don't find those snipes now.
But look at Heiko's positioning, instantly making sure we still have Nesh be safe up on that high ground rudder up in the sky. Dragon Strike, though, will come out, look to push the rest of Singularity away. Heiko regroup with the rest of his team. Is going to be the self-destruct from the other side, and there finally gets a kill. Obling having that space, gets one himself onto Nesh at Singularity. Might have just found this first objective.
And I don't know if there's going to be a re-engage at all from Snakes. They're going to be losing Heiko here as well. They are just, you know, about, I don't know, 20 so meters away from checking this payload into this first point. Pushing it along with a decent pace, but Snakes looking to set up. They don't have anybody there just yet, and 0.44 meters, we do see the Zenyatta of Kodak actually make his way on.
But they still get that payload through. Obling was at the ready, making sure he takes Nesh out as soon as possible. Even though the Resurrect is there, still things are looking good for Singularity as they will look to set up on that second phase. Heiko desuited, gets killed off too, and now the rest of Snakes will be forced in a pretty tough spot potentially. However, with Asking and Nesh both having their respective ultimates available, if they can get into a safe spot, if they can have the space required, make sure they don't, or rather those go through, and Obling doesn't find their heads in the meantime, they should still be looking pretty good overall.
Singularity just pushing this one along. They're okay with not taking any fights. You know, they are okay with just pushing this straight through. However, now Snake's looking to engage. We see a rotation from Obling as he works his way around, trying to put some pressure onto Nesh, but he gets healed up. They do find the kill onto Nerf, so likely you'll see Singularity taking the fall here. However, they're sticking in this one, and they're going to utilize everything at their disposal to make sure that they sustain in this fight.
We'll still have Asking find another big kill, another big target, and that Widowmaker, because that will potentially enable Nesh to do what he does best, and he will go for it with the Rocket Barrage. However, only finds one self-destruct. Will trade his life for it too, but considering the man advantage in favor of Snakes, as they will find Mono in the end, still dancing around the payload. We'll see them hold out strong. 1 minute and 43 seconds now for Singularity.
Yeah, he made sure they got a little bit of distance on the payload, you know. At least it's not all for naught. But Nesh now swapping. They're going to go to a double sniper setup. Obling going to go instead over to the Roadhog as they swap back to what they started with, the 3-0-3. Attacking team setting up now. Remember, this is slightly different as they don't have the Zarya. Nesh going back over to the Pharah actually as well. Dragon Strike coming out, already claiming one kill onto the Lucio.
That was a big one because he was the closest support towards charging an ultimate up, and with the Sound Barrier, they could have had the same part. They could have rolled this one out, but it's going to be Asking instead. Coming up once again, huge for his team. And now with Heiko picking up to himself, 60 seconds left on that timer. Going to be one potential last team fight here for Singularity to get that second point on the board.
Obling, I mean, kind of struggling now, going back over to the Widowmaker, trying to find a pick for himself as they saw the Pharah come back out, so trying to deny that a little bit with this particular adjustment. Coming back around through the cave. Dragon Strike, again, you have to remember that that is ready right here.
And we'll see how they're going to approach this fight as now Rally will be fought by Fall, looking to keep most of those members as healthy as possible. Mono looking for a Sound Barrier too still, but the Dragon Strike once more is going to come for Hover this time. Not going to find any targets. Self-destruct was used by Heiko as well. Just looking to push the opposition away. Coalescence now committed from the side of Lin, looking to get those kills up high so as keep the rest of his team safe. But in the meantime, Christopher takes out Obling and coming back in with the Primal Rage, the self-destruct, or rather the Transcendence being there is going to keep the rest of his team alive. Nesh finds Mono, big target, and now Earth Shatter might still make Singularity get that second objective, but it's going to be a tough one.
Still, they don't have everybody here. They still have, you know, people falling. They have some support. There's the Dragon Strike coming out. It's going to push Lind into a corner. They're putting the pressure onto the objective, where now everybody's forced off, and everybody that tries to come on dies. Mono does just that, and Snakes have put the stop to Singularity's push with a 2-2-2 that has been ruthless all day.
Those were such crazy back-to-back Dragon Strikes so many times. Able to charge that one up. We'll have Snakes potentially now looking to close this series out. Only 1 point and 86.49 meters obtained there by Singularity. Definitely still winnable, considering the fact that it is Route 66. This is where they can pull that 3-0-3 composition again. And we've seen how aggressive all these teams that do go through with that comp can really be. Even if they lose those early fights, they're just going to be able to keep the payload at bay and make sure they waste as much time as possible.
Yeah, I'm looking to start this off strong. We already see Singularity going for a 3-0-3 defense. It seems like they're going to be sticking to this. Definitely expect them to, sneak their way forward and try to come out guns blazing very early on, contest the payload as soon as possible. And yes, this isn't exactly a secret anymore. It's not something that you would expect to kind of catch opponents off guard all that often. But what it does do, and it's still very good at doing, is forcing teams to really fight for that first push, and it takes away a lot of time that they have for their attack. And this is actually a pretty long route that they have to take for this first stage of the map. So you can lose that fight quickly and then come back in and re-engage for another opportunity, and oftentimes you can even have a third chance depending on how things work out as well. So it's definitely not a bad option. I wouldn't be surprised to see Singularity go for it, but again, not exactly a surprise at this stage. However, what is a surprise is Obling on the Widow as opposed to the Zarya that you would typically see.
And on the other side, of course, we'll have Nesh being able to contest, and interestingly enough, Kodak not on the Zenyatta, for now potentially actually on the Ana. And with those Bionades, if he does manage to find those with a good connection onto those tanky members, he actually gets a sleep onto Molfig, and that will enable Asking to get a quick double, and that might have been, never mind the Bionade, if you get those CCs off, that could be enough as it will continue to roll through. Nesh on that Pharah will be able to find those kills as well, and now with a lot of damage coming through, Asking already with the Dragon Strike.
Beautifully done. Asking with a great angle to work with. Dragon Strike got the ready all ready as well. And I mean, this is really quick for him to get this, but they gave all of that up to him. And Obling now going to be hard-pressed to find a way into this and get an angle for himself. He's going to have to go ahead and go in late. Oh, asleep already to start things off. They're going to wake him up quickly, but Lin will go down. And that's a big advantage for Snakes as they take the Moira out of the picture.
Oh, and a beautiful Bionade as well onto Fall, as well as that other frontline member. Obling does find Nesh. They both trade each other out in the end. Fall once again will be hooked, finds eventually the kill for Kodak. And again, this is what the Brawly composition wants. They want to fight on that payload. They want to waste as much time as possible. But it's still Snakes finding the kills relatively quickly. And with the ultimates as well, they have so much time to make sure they get this payload onto that objective.
Yeah, their fight win rate, like I said before, is just so high, even against these types of compositions, that a lot of teams just don't have similar results. However, Singularity, I mentioned how they can have 3 opportunities and they'll get them. However, Asking starting things off so well. Look at that Bionic Grenade to come in too. Snakes are on fire all across the board right now.
They're playing so well. Kodak even damage boosting Asking there, securing those kills and securing a beautiful teamfight win off of that Bionade as well. Just such good play all around coming out of Snakes now and looking unstoppable.
And oh, actually it's Mono taken out already, so advantage to Snakes right now as they're just free pushing this payload. I mean, taking advantage of anything that they can get, and they have gotten so much as Nesh in the Sky is just laying in to every single angle that they could take to come back into this fight. They finally do spot them out. Nice little Sonic arrow to give that information away.
And now Obling still looking to strike back. He does have that infrared already. Another sleep dart did connect, so on point so far onto the Diva, but this time around Cave popping that Valkyrie will look to secure another team fight win, potentially with this first team with that AoE healing hook. Does connect, but it's gonna be Obling with 1 kill, but it is going to be overall a 1-for-1.
Saw Kodak under duress for a moment there, took some pressure. Oh, the purple comes out, Fall can't be healed, and goes down. Earthshatter comes out, self-destruct, actually as well as Mulf. Almost dies off, but he finds 2 as he goes down, gets back into his mech. Self-destruct might have done it for them. Still though, these tanks are still alive, and here's the barrage!
And Nash is looking for that damage. However, it's gonna be Obling who gets his kill in return. Cave somehow still alive, barely. Will be potentially saved up by the rest of his team. Save Private Cave as we will have high kill. Get the kill onto Obling, and with the Dragon Strike coming through, we might just have Snakes get this one in the end as we will have high kill find another kill.
And Earth has almost no barrier left. Nesh will take him down alongside Asking, who got a headshot there to do a lot of that damage as well. And it's going to be easy pickings for everybody else who tries to contest. And as they die off like this, I don't know if they have a hope to really get a solid re-engage. They'll come back in. Obling won't have an angle on the Widowmaker unless he works his way all the way around. Fall is on a Soldier. This is going to be so tough. They have the nano boost. Might put it onto Christopher. Might put it onto Nesh. They do put it onto Nesh, actually. Already putting some pressure on to Fall. Mono died already. This is looking good for Snakes.
Kodak instantly spotting him out. Even gets the sleep start and the kill onto Nerve. This has been an absolute textbook play coming out of Snakes as they will secure those kills. They will secure the round, the map, and the series in the end. GG.
They have kind of figured things out, it seems. I mean, the ability, this is one of the only teams that we've seen approach the 303 or, you know, styles kind of similar to them and be able to pull it out and be so successful. And I love the Ana play too, because that really closed things out for them, especially because they didn't have the Zarya. They